Would it surprise you to know that I don't like shopping? Would it surprise you to know that I know how to throw a cocktail party?
I was not aware of that.
What's the relevance?
Do I appear that I'm drinking well drinks with staff?
Right. Sustained.
Would it surprise you to know that I exclusively drink one cocktail?
No.
Would it surprise you to know that I don't drink fountain sodas? Would it surprise you that I don't drink from the gun? You're a bartender. You understand how those guns are maintained, correct? I'm sorry, how not so well those guns are maintained.
I had agreed that I'd walk him up to his room.
Would it surprise you to know that I prefer canned mixers and that I wouldn't drink out of a gun? My guest happens to love Bloody Mary, so do you remember me asking you if you knew how to make a Bloody Mary? Did you make me one?
I don't recall for certain.
Would it surprise you to know that I think they're disgusting? Are you familiar with what that means?
Yes.
The answer, Your Honor.
Okay.
Overruled. If he wants to use his time for this, you may answer.
Yes, I am aware of the difference between top and bottom, given it's pretty, I think, obvious, maybe.
But we're chasing every little shiny object, missing the forest through the trees.
That's my last question.
We're done with the NDA. Sustained. Stop asking about it.
Are your employers aware of the lawsuit?
Objection. This was covered.
Sustained. This is in violation of the motion in limine.
Could it be safe to assume that you're thriving because none of these allegations actually happened?
That is not the case. Those allegations happened, and I thrive because I care about the work that I do. I had called 926 a place for us to go as a third or second place to be, because it is known to be a gay bar here in Tallahassee.
Oh my God, was this on when I went to the bathroom earlier? Peed? Did you hear me pee? Sorry, that's so funny. I didn't even think of it.
Mike, pull a Trump?
I've done reality TV. You think I'd know?
Back in session.
We would.
All rise. We're back in session.
May be seated. All right, we ready to get the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's bring the jury. If history is any lesson, this was likely our last witness of the day. Say again?
Normally could probably squeeze in two, but not the way this is going.
I didn't say we'd finish. I'd say this is our last witness of the day.
Yes, sir.
All right, everyone may be seated. All right, with that, plaintiff, call your next witness.
Plaintiff calls Mr. Jacob Cutbirth.
All right, sir, what if you would please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in the case now in hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
You may be seated. With that, counsel, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cutbirth. Would you please introduce yourself to your jury?
My name is Jacob Cutbirth. I was adopted from Lithuania, was raised in Cocoa Beach. Went up to Tallahassee to pursue my undergraduate and master's in international affairs with a minor in Chinese and economics.
Okay. Now, when you started in your specific area of expertise, what was your goal?
I had long-term aspirations of becoming a diplomat, but worked mainly in Asian relations, China or Japan. I even had done an internship with Debbie Mayfield on the Senate side.
Sir, if you can slow down, I know.
Yes, sir.
Slow down.
It's okay. Are you a little nervous?
A little bit.
Okay, it's okay to be
Good.
nervous.
Yeah.
Okay. So, have you ever testified in court before?
No, this is my first time in a courtroom.
Okay.
I got it.
Who again had you interned with? Debbie?
Senator Debbie Mayfield.
Now, what year was it that you worked with Senator Mayfield?
It would have been it would have been 2022, potentially 2021. I can't remember exactly.
And did you want to get onto the representative side?
I knew that it would be a good experience to learn both the Senate and the representative side, and I thought it would give me a better understanding of how governing and policy works.
Okay. Now, while you were getting your degree, were you also working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Very briefly, because we're going to get into it in a little bit, can you tell the jury what you were doing? What type of work?
Sure. During my during my master's program, I was a teacher's assistant for Dr. Whitney Bendeck. So I would teach classes, offer office hours. During this time, I also picked up a part-time bartending gig.
Okay. Now tell the jury when, and I'm assuming in fall of 2022, is that when you met Mr. Basabe and Mr. Frevola?
December 12th,
Okay.
2022.
2022. Now I'd like you to please walk the jury through how you first met them.
Sure. My roommate and friend, Cheryl Jensen Becker, she and I went out to go to Madison Social just randomly on the 12th. We ended up seeing Nicholas Frevola and Fabian Basabe. They were the only ones wearing suits out of everybody else wearing t-shirts, so they kind of stuck out. I was interested, and I had an assumption that they were with the Capitol in some capacity, and that's when I came up to them, or Nick came up to me, I can't remember exactly, but regardless, I started a conversation, and that night was came to my attention that he was a newly elected representative, that he was up here to get himself settled before session started.
Okay, and when you say he was a newly elected representative, do you mean Mr. Basabe?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, that night, did you guys exchange phone numbers?
I believe Nicholas and I did, and we made the plans of potentially meeting out the next night.
Okay. And did you?
Yes, we did.
All right. Please tell the jury who went out and where did you first go?
We agreed to go across the street, Madison Social. It's right across the street from Township. Same group, and we had agreed to make come for drinks, and that is what we did. We got there before they did, and
Go ahead.
we got there before they did, and kind of waited for them to come. And when they came, that's when everybody kind of convened together.
All right. So it was you, your friend and roommate Cheryl, Miss Cheryl Becker,
Mm-hmm.
all right, Mr. Basabian, Nick Frevola.
Mm-hmm.
Did you run into any other people there?
I knew that there was other people there from from the Capitol or had some adjacency to it, but I wasn't really too sure.
Okay. You don't know Karis Lockhart or Olivia?
No, I don't.
Thank you. All right. Did you guys stay at Madison Social all night?
No, we ended up. It was kind of a push to go somewhere else, and we had decided to go over to 926.
Okay. Was it your suggestion to go to 926?
Yes,
Okay. And is that the local bar where you were bartending?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And why would you suggest 926?
Cheryl had indicated to me that her, and I don't know if this is appropriate, her gay radar went off, and what I was understanding was that Mr. Fabian Basabe might have been giving me some looks or attention. I had called 926 a place for us to go as a third or second place to be, because it is known to be a gay bar here in Tallahassee. They do other things as well, like concerts and bands and whatnot, but ultimately it is established as a gay bar in Tallahassee.
Okay. Now, did you go over to the 926 bar from Madison?
Yes, we did.
All right. And who drove who?
Cheryl and Nick had been kind of hitting off, so they're doing their own thing. We all said that we would go meet over at 926, and I drove the rep Fabian Basabe.
Okay. Now, during the car ride over, did anything uncomfortable or I'm going to say inappropriate happen?
Not on the car ride there.
All right. When you got there, did you all go into the bar?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And can you tell the jury how long, roughly, did Mr. Frevola and Miss Becker stay?
They were there only very briefly. They decided to go back home.
Okay. And how long, roughly, did you and Mr. Basabe stay?
I think about 30 minutes, no more than an hour, absolutely.
Okay. Can you describe for the jury Mr. Basabe, from what you could observe? Did he appear to be slurring his words, getting a little, maybe lubricated?
I would say,
Is she asking him to describe my state of mind at a particular time years ago?
No, she asked to describe his physical state of being. The objection's overruled. You may answer the question.
yes, he was ordering drinks at both locations, and definitely understood that the drinks had been drunk.
Okay. Now, at some point, before Mr. Frevola left, was there any discussion about you getting Mr. Basabe home safely?
Yes, it was under my understanding and Nick's and I's that he was going to go home. and spend some time with our friend. And I told him, don't worry about the rep. I'll make sure he gets back to his hotel, and nothing to worry about.
Okay. And so when you decided to leave, did you in fact drive Mr. Basabe home?
Yes.
Okay. Did anything happen on the car ride home that was inappropriate or made you uncomfortable?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please tell the jury?
He came up to, I was driving on the left side because I was in the driver's seat. He was in the passenger seat, and it started off with him getting his face right close to my neck and whispering in my ear. He put his hand on my thigh, and he made comments about sex with men. And it was, like I said previously, he did seem pretty drunk. I told him I told him that I'm happily engaged, and that I have no interest in that. And I took his hand off. I thought that would be enough.
All right. And did you explain to him that you were engaged to a woman?
Yes.
Okay. And so you explained you were not gay.
Yes.
Did you consent to him rubbing her or touching your thigh?
No.
But you thought that would be it.
Yes.
All right. Tell the jury what happened when you arrived at the hotel.
I knew that he was pretty intoxicated. I didn't necessarily know the hotel or the lobby. And I had agreed that I'd walk him up to his room.
All right. Did you?
Yes.
All right. Tell the jury what happened when you got upstairs.
I made sure to stay in the doorway, the door being open. He offered me a drink and poured himself something with Tito's. I declined the offer for a drink. That's when he came up looking as if he was going to hug me, and I realized he was also going to try to kiss me in that moment. That's when I put both hands on his chest and pushed him off, said, "Have a good night."
All right. You did not consent to a kiss or to the rope?
No.
What was your impression at that moment as to whether you would hear from him or Mr. Frevola again?
I had expressed during our first night that I had really wanted a chance to get on the House of Representatives side. And there had been floated an idea that I might be able to internship with them, which is something I was hoping to secure, especially with the second night of going out. After all that happened, on the way home from 926, I had just assumed I wasn't going to hear from him again.
All right, but did you?
Yes.
Okay, tell the jury about the next time you heard from Mr. Basabe.
It was the following morning, I believe, and the conversation it seemed as if no mention, no, kind of like, hey, I'm sorry, I got a little crazy last night, or I had too much to drink. No real comments about that. He asked me if I wanted to go apartment shopping with him, and I declined.
When was the next time you heard from Mr. Frevola or Mr. Basabe?
I heard from Frevola maybe a week or 2 weeks later, saying that, hey, if you're still interested, an internship is available. And I told him that if I did, then I could give Tuesdays and Thursdays before my graduate classes at the campus.
All right. And roughly, when did you begin your internship?
It had been before the actual session starts, which is in March. I started January, I believe, 24th, and I worked for less than 6 weeks, total just Tuesdays and Thursdays before I realized I needed to leave.
All right. And you were the intern to Mr. Basabe, correct?
Yes.
All right. He was like your supervisor.
Absolutely.
All right. What were the job duties with the understanding of what you would be doing?
My previous experience with Senator Mayfield had me writing memos, going to, different, listening to constituents, drafting different emails, and then I also worked on the Mayfield Minute, which is a newsletter, I was also hoping to work on with Representative Basabe.
Is that what you wound up doing?
Very little work was done on that.
Okay. Can you tell the jury? Well, first of all, you worked on January 24th, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
All right. Do you recall whether or not you worked on January the 26th?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And so, do you recall a time somewhere maybe around February the 7th where the Miami chamber was in town?
Yes, I do remember that day.
All right. Can you tell the jury what happened that day?
It started off with Fabian calling me into his office. He had told me that Miami Chamber's coming by, so he wants me to bartend for them and make Bloody Marys. It was about 10 in the morning and whatnot. He had also told me that appearance is important, to have my fingernails clean, stuff like that, but also said that I was eye candy and that he wanted to be more flirty, and that was important to him. He also seemed overly interested in my engagement, suggesting that I might be that I shouldn't do that. And
When you say engagement, do you mean to your fiance?
yes, my now wife.
And go on.
The over interest in my love life seemed to be that he thought that there was differences when men have sex with men or men have sex with women, and it expressed to be a little bit more fun, or it's less emotions involved is the verbiage I remember. That's it.
Did he ever use the term, or do you recall if he used the term that day, you needed to be sport fucking men?
Yes, that came up a few times.
Now, in your time working with the Senate side, had you ever served, and strike that, let me back it up so I can lay a foundation. Where were the drinks served?
In his office.
In the Capitol?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in your time, had you ever seen anyone serving sort of a cocktail party in their office?
Never seen or heard.
Now, to the best of your recollection, that was Tuesday, February the 7th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, did you
Yes.
work on,
Yes.
okay. Did you work February 9th?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell the jury why?
There was I was trying to get the same inklings of that this behavior was not just restricted to intoxication or outside of the Capitol. I realized that it was going to continue in the Capitol as well.
Okay. And let me back up and ask you, did he also ask you to be clean shaven?
I believe so, yes.
Do you recall if you worked February 14th and 16th?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. If I may try to refresh your recollection, sometime around Valentine, Tuesday, February 14th and 16th, was Mr. Basabe out of town?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
So would you have worked those days?
No, I would not have worked those.
February the 21st. Do you know who Mr. Tom Leake is?
Yes, I do. He's
It's okay. Tell him.
he's the appropriations chairman.
On February the 21st, 2023, did you go to Mr. Leake's office?
Yes, with Nicholas Frevola as well.
Okay. And was Mr. Basabe with you?
He was also there with us.
All right. Can you tell the jury what, if anything, happened when you were leaving the office?
Yes, he showed us a picture of a naked man, who I believe to be Latino, but mixed is, I think, a fair categorization. And there was other comments made about being a little bit more flirty again in his presence.
Is there anything else that you can recall?
The interest in my engagement was brought up again as well, and pretty much all the circumstances where I had made a message. Or,
Okay. I'm going to show the witness what was previously marked as Exhibit 7. It was used earlier. Yes. Permission to approach the witness.
thank you.
Counsel, did you say previously admitted? I don't,
Your Honor, didn't we say?
previously identified. Thank you. Okay, that's, all right.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you recognize this document, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you recognize it?
It is a message between Nicholas Frevola and I, where I sent a message on Thursday, February 23rd, 2023, at 11:32 a.m. This.
Your Honor, I would like to publish this to the jury now.
I hadn't been admitted, so
May I, and let me move, please, to admit Exhibit 7, Mr.
any objection to plaintiff's exhibit 7?
Your Honor.
All right, without objection. You may publish.
Okay, February the 23rd. Is this what you wrote?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Nick, I'm not feeling well.
Kind of weirded out from some things that were said on Tuesday, and I didn't know how to talk to Fabian about it yet. Felt I wasn't ready to be in the office and potentially rude to the representative. I hope you understand.
Can you tell the jury what you are referring to in that?
I was referring to the previous Tuesday, where the picture had been shown and comments about my marriage and his advice towards me on that were, along with his own preferences of how I should have lead my sex life. Sorry.
Do you know if you worked February the 28th?
No.
Okay. How about, do you recall receiving tweets or engaging in text on Sunday, the March the 5th?
March the 5th, I got, yes, I had been reached out by Nicholas Frevola, and he had asked if I was okay, what was going on, if I was going to be returning. And on March 5th, I sent a message that said I can be there Tuesday, but I do want to talk to you one-on-one tomorrow, not just everything with the rep, but also volunteering my time on Tuesdays and Thursdays, given my money crunch.
Now, were you able to speak with Mr. Frevola one-on-one about what you were experiencing?
Yes.
And did you then go in and work Tuesday?
Yes, after being asked if I come Tuesday, Nicholas had confirmed to me. He said, "Look, man, it's not always going to be like this. You can just ignore it. It'll get better." And ultimately, he told me he had my back, and I believe him.
Now, I want to talk about what happened on March 7th, Tuesday, March the 7th.
Yes.
Will you please tell the jury what was said to you by Mr. Basabe?
This is when I realized I didn't want to work at the Capitol anymore. It was a busy daily session.
Right? Objection, is it hearsay if he's trying to say my words?
Overruled, statement by party opponent. Overruled, you may answer the question.
That was the day that I realized I really didn't want to work at the Capitol anymore. It was a very busy day with session finally starting. I hadn't even started with the session yet. The goal was to get through session with this newsletter. And we had gone to a meeting, this or that, but it wasn't really until we had walked from the Capitol to the majority office. This is next to the Metro Deli, right over here down the street. And Nicholas was walking in front of us, and I was behind with Basabe. This is when Representative Basabe was asking me about my penis size. He asked me again also about, he showed some real concerns about engagement with my wife. And that's where the sports fucking comment got brought back in as well, saying that there's less emotions involved when men have sex with other men, and that men have higher sex drives. And he also admitted that he was a bottom and was asking my preference of where I would lay in a heterosexual relationship.
Okay, what is your
Other way around.
understanding of a bottom?
Gives or receives. Yeah.
How did this make you feel?
This was the moment where I really realized I didn't want to be here anymore. In fact, before Representative Basabe even left the majority office there, I told him while we were sitting outside of Metro Deli that I got to go home. I can't do this anymore. I felt silly for really believing that behavior would change, but I really thought that'd be good for my career, that I thought in a professional setting like a Capitol or courtroom, that these behaviors wouldn't be shown.
Now, you work in a gay bar.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've been hit on by men before?
I'm not. I'm used to that, and it's never been a problem. It's usually just keep moving along or say thank you, and yeah.
Would it be fair to say that in your past history, that other men have respected your boundary and your rejection, that you did not want to be touched or spoken to that way?
Yes, absolutely. Usually it's a one-time thing that you have to tell somebody that you're not interested.
Mr. Basabe, respect your boundaries?
No.
Did you send a text contemporaneously to some of your friends?
Yes, Cheryl Janison Becker, who was there for the beginning of all this, and also the Zachary Newsom, who was the best man in my wedding. I sent them a message on the 7th, almost immediately after leaving Metro Deli, telling Nick I'm not coming back.
All right. Your Honor, I would like to approach the witness with previously marked Plaintiff's Exhibit 8.
Okay, you may approach.
Let me give you a minute to look at this.
Yes, ma'am.
May I object to any hearsay in this?
Let's wait and see if she can lay a foundation.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you recognize it?
It is a text message thread between Cheryl Janison Becker and Zachary Newsom.
All right. Can you please tell me the date up at the top?
It was Tuesday, March 7th at 2:05 p.m.
And it begins, "I quit the Capitol." Did you write that?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd like to admit Plaintiff's Exhibit 8 into evidence.
All right, your objection, Mr. Basabe, as to plaintiff's exhibit 8?
Objections to anything that he did not create.
All right, let me see plaintiff's 8 for identification, sir. All right, what's the objection? No, I need to know what the legal objection is so I can rule on it. What's the legal objection?
It's a screenshot that I can't authenticate the other person responding. I don't know who that is, and I can't authenticate it. He can speak to his
The objection as to authentication is overruled. Is there another objection?
hearsay of the other person.
Or the objection is to hearsay as to the other folks?
Not offered for the truth of the matter asserted, only, I mean, we can even mark that.
Well, I was gonna say the objection as to hearsay to the others is sustained, to the extent if you wanna redact that out and go with just the other present sense impression, you can, but at this point, plaintiff's exhibit 8, the objection is sustained.
Let's go back and look. Did you write, "I quit the Capitol. I said I'll help with the newsletter if that means I can keep the position on my resume, but I won't be going to the Capitol anymore, and I will be doing any awoke from home to avoid being sexually harassed."
Yeah, awoke was supposed to be any work from, I will be doing any work from home to avoid being sexually harassed. Yes.
Okay. And I believe you testified that you wrote that contemporaneously as you were leaving.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Did you ever speak with, you mentioned earlier, one of your professors, Whitney Betnick?
Bendeck.
Excuse me.
She was the teacher I was a TA for. I've known her for, I took classes with her in my undergrad, and while I was in my master's program, she got me the TA-ship, and it was her class that I would have to, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, make sure I returned back to with enough time to actually be there for class. And I confided in with the students that were in that classroom, as well as gave warning to Bendeck of kind of what was going on, and she was helpful in essentially leading me to, this is not a healthy work environment. Maybe it's not even good to keep on your resume.
Was it her advice that you decided to not even work on the newsletter? You just departed completely?
Hers, my wife's, my father's, and my mother's.
Now, after that, were you just moving on with your life?
I thought that was going to be the last thing I heard about it, and it just kind of gave me a kind of an awakening that if this is what government looks like, then I don't want a part of it. I don't think I can find happiness working in a career field where this type of behavior is allowed to exist. So I ultimately thought that, you know what, maybe this is the best thing for me. Maybe I need to change my career trajectory here. Yeah.
Okay. Now, did something happen in June, a publication that changed your life?
There's been a lot of publications about this, and I think that's been the hardest part to deal with with this as well, is how public it's been. It's difficult to accept when everything's been kind of just ignored, and it felt like I was doing something wrong, even though I knew that wasn't the case.
Right. And I was going to object to the publication. Is that the media stuff that they've been objecting to all this time?
Exhibit 10.
Yes.
What's the objection?
I don't know what it is. Oh, you're going back to Exhibit 10, the tweet, my tweet. Okay.
I don't hear any objection. Next question.
Is this the tweet that brought your life right back into this situation?
Yes.
Rather than go all through all of it, I do know that your name is not mentioned here. It is Mr. Frevola's. But can you tell the jury what happened to you?
Regarding?
Once this tweet went out, tell the jury what happened to you.
Again, it was a hard thing to accept because I understood that I understood what happened for real. I understand what happened to me, and kind of this type of message just kind of throws it back in your face that I guess it doesn't matter. And that was hard to deal with. But yeah.
Were you contacted by reporters and news media?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I ignored them all, but it was still annoying to have to deal with that. And I did have an issue with like looking at my name and seeing all the stuff that was posted. I also was worried that like if I was looking up for a job and they did like a Google search on me, that they'd see all this. It kind of snowballed into a thing where it gave me a lot of anxiety anytime anything got published. But I learned that to ignore it is helped with any of that. But it is still something that weighed heavy.
So if you Google your,
And I was going to object to that question because she's talking about media reports of this case. We're not supposed to be talking about.
Overruled.
you didn't put your name in the media, did you?
No, no.
And as we sit here today, you don't know how it got there, do you?
I privated all my social medias as this started going down because people were able to contact me too easily.
Okay, so somehow your name got drug into this.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and what has them, in addition to being contacted by the media, did it have an impact on your upcoming nuptials when you were trying to get married?
My wife and I decided, and now she's autonomous, she can do what she wants, but at the same time, with her also in school and trying to get careers, we decided to keep her last name as Stotler as opposed to Cutbirth. And we figured that'd be just best for job opportunity purposes as opposed to having everything flood in with the last name of Cutbirth.
Very last part of Exhibit 10, that was the tweet. Let others learn and let this episode stand as a warning for those who plot harm. Did you think this was a threat?
Objection. It's out of context, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Yes.
At any point during this process, have you felt fear?
Yes, feelings of, I think there's also feelings of stupidity, that I let this, felt like there was more that I could have done or should have done, or at least just known better at the very beginning. And those conversations I've had with my dad and and other family members and whatnot. But ultimately, I thought that I could ignore some of the personality behaviors behind him to keep this on my resume. But it wasn't until I saw that it didn't matter what I said; it was going to continue to happen. And that was also the scariest part too, because I've never had an experience where no means something else, maybe, eventually or something. It's no means no. But this is the first example that I've gotten where it was just ignored.
I want to talk a little bit about what your original career path had been. Diplomacy, China. Is that what you are doing now?
No, and to be fair, that's like a president level goal. But anything working in governing and policy, I thought was going to be really cool. I'd even taken an international law class that I thought maybe I'd like to end up in a courtroom one day. But ultimately, I switched career paths. I work with Sunstop now. It's a gas station chain. Yeah.
Now, are you asking this jury to compensate you for what Mr. Basabe did to you?
That is entirely up to the jury. I'm not here. I'm here to hold him accountable. This is not a financial thing for me.
Thank you. Give me just a moment. When you had worked with the senator, were you ever asked to sign a NDA?
No.
Okay. Did Mr. Basabe ask you to sign one?
Yes.
Okay. And eventually, did you?
Eventually, I did. Yes.
Did you feel pressured to do that?
Yeah, I tried holding off as long as I could because especially with how the beginning started, I thought that signing an NDA meant that I couldn't say anything at all. So I was kind of waiting to sign the NDA to avoid any of those issues there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. When Mr. Basabe was asking you about signing the NDA, did he at about the same time say you need to be flirting more with me, with him?
Yeah, the moment where
Hold on.
Sorry. Speaking for me, hearsay?
Overruled. It is a statement of the party opponent, which is admissible under the hearsay rules. You may proceed.
When that comment with the Miami Chamber on the seventh date February, whenever he said can you be more flirty and stuff, he kind of caught himself and said, "I need you to sign that NDA."
Thank you, Mr. Cutbirth. I don't have any more questions.
Cross-examination?
Your Honor, should I go put these exhibits?
Oh, you may. All right, Ms. Basabe, you may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is it correct that you were never my legislative aide?
That is correct.
Were you an unpaid volunteer?
That is correct.
So you were not employed full-time?
No.
You were still in school?
Yes.
You only came into the office occasionally?
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
A few hours at a time?
Yes.
So not every day?
No.
Not even most days?
Not even most days.
You met Nicholas Frevola before becoming involved with the office?
Yes, I met you guys on the same night.
So Frevola wasn't your friend?
No.
Did Frevola encourage your involvement?
How so?
Did he make you aware of opportunities available? Did he try to recruit you to be an intern? Did he tell you that he could get you in to get a job at the house?
You and Nick Frevola both, yes.
Was Frevola your primary point of contact?
You're my superior, but yes, I would contact with Nick most of the time.
So, isn't it common practice at the house that you intern and get approved through the house? Did you apply through the house? Did you have any kind of application to become a volunteer for the house?
No, sir.
So there was nothing official for the house?
Not that I can remember.
So did you just come in to support Nick in his work?
My work was also going to be on the newsletter. There also had been talks about bill writing and whatnot, that I was assumed was going to be part of my job description there as an unpaid intern.
Is it your position that unpaid volunteers or interns write legislation for the state of Florida?
Oh, not writing bills, but more of like writing memos for previous bills and stuff like that.
Are you aware that we have an entire floor of house staff and professionals to take care of that?
Yes.
So it was your impression, and you knew that at the time, right? Because you had worked for other senators. You understand that we have teams that take care of those memos and drafts, correct?
Yes.
So it was your position that in no official capacity with the House whatsoever, you were going to come in as an unpaid volunteer reporting to your friend Nick, and you were going to be drafting memos of what legislation should be considered by me to propose to the people of Florida.
No, I'm sorry. Let me correct that. Actually, it's bill writing itself, I understand, is a very complex thing. I do not think I have the capacity to write a bill. Newsletter or writing memos based off different sessions. That was what I understood to be my job description.
How would you possibly accomplish that as an unpaid volunteer with no association with the House for coming in a couple of hours a week, seldomly to the House?
I'd still sit in on meetings that you went to. I'd walk you to them. And then on top of that, I did start a newsletter, and I can provide that if you'd like, but I have very many different interpretations of different newsletters that I've written.
What month did you start working on that hobby of a newsletter?
I'm pretty sure I started right at the beginning, but I was only there for about a month.
You communicated with Frevola more than you communicated with me, correct?
Maybe via text.
I'm going to go with overall communications. Would you say that you communicated with Frevola more than you communicated with me?
I'm unsure.
Much of your work, because you were under no official capacity for me or the House, much of your work came from projects under Frevola, correct?
You were the one that asked me about the newsletter because of my history with working on the W. Mayfield Minute, which I'd work on the Senate side. You had shown interest in me doing the newsletter for you.
Sorry, and just to go backwards, because it might not have been Frevola, wasn't it Michael Kirkland that discovered that you were able to write a newsletter and asked you about the newsletter?
From my recollection, he did get involved after I had already started, and you had said some things along the lines of, I forget exactly, but you thought some colors, some fonts, and stuff like that needed to get corrected, and Michael has that experience from what I understood.
But the original idea of a newsletter Are you saying that I had brought you in to create a newsletter?
I think I had told you that I'd worked on the Debbie Mayfield minute, showed it to you, and then you had said that was, let's do it.
So let's talk about our communications.
Okay.
We exchanged text messages,
Briefly, yes.
so not hundreds of messages,
No, not for sure.
not dozens of messages.
No.
Not daily communications.
No, I rarely communicated with you via phone, text, or call.
I was just going to establish that. So in fact, we had very limited communication, correct?
Over the phone, yes.
Are you implying that we had more communication by text?
No, we had more communication in the office when you'd ask me into your office, or ask you to walk you somewhere, or ask you to do this with you, that's what I'm referring to. But yeah, maybe text and call. I didn't text and call all that much, but I did communicate with you in person.
But we had very few text messages and phone communications between us, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Are you familiar with where all the offices are at the house? Can you navigate that landscape?
I have a pretty good idea of where different places are.
Did you learn that while you were volunteering under Nick Frevola?
Now, under Debbie Mayfield, I really understood what it looked like.
Would you say that the Senate is a much different building
Yes,
than the House?
yes.
So would it surprise you that most legislators in their second and third terms still get lost in the Capitol?
I'm sure it's a confusing building.
So would you say that you know how to get around the Capitol better than anyone
No,
in my team?
no, no, no.
So would it be safe to assume that I would not be relying on you to walk me to my meetings?
I can understand how you come to that.
In the very few communications we have via text, those are ordinary messages related to,
You didn't say anything appropriate via text, no?
that wasn't my question, but
Oh, sorry.
but they were just ordinary back and forth on whatever your day-to-day under Nick Frevola would have been, just kind of checking in. Would you say that we have that communication?
We didn't text all that much.
Would you say we didn't have any communication about that?
I'm not 100% sure.
Did we ever talk about transportation?
Not that I know of.
That you get to and from work? No. Did we ever talk about social media work?
I believe so, but I can't recall any specific example.
Did we ever have any text messages or anything that you can show us that prove any kind of sexual advances or flirtation in our message?
Not through our messaging, no.
Nothing flirtatious.
Not in messaging.
Was there anything threatening?
Not in messaging.
Was there anything inappropriate?
Not in messaging.
You texted me on December 15th, 2022, correct?
I believe so.
Do you remember what that message was about?
No, could you inform me?
Sorry. You texted me on December 14th
Okay.
and 15th. I'll go back to it. Is that the night we met? Did we meet on a Wednesday, December 14th?
I believe it was December 13th was the initial night we met. December 14th was the second night that we had met, that we had made plans the day prior to me.
Was the first night we met something that we had arranged, or is it the night that you said, very similarly to the exact description of Frevola, that you recognized two people in suits? Literally, you guys had the identical recollection.
But
You recognized two people in suits walk in, and you said hello. Is that the night that we officially met, or do we have an official meeting, or we just saw each other that day?
that was the first night we met. I understood who you were. We introduced each other. And
Did I give you my phone number?
I don't remember getting your phone number. I think I got Nick's phone number.
Did you go out of your way to get my phone number?
No.
So would it surprise you that on December 14th, the very first night that we met, that I did not give you my number, you sought out my phone number and messaged me?
I don't remember that.
The next night, sorry, I'm going to go back to that. I'll get to that. So the next night you claimed that we met. I'm sorry, can you just refresh my memory? Where is it that we met the second night?
Township was the first night. Madison Social was the second night.
And just to reconfirm, the first night was more of a hey, hello, and you got to see who we were, and you guys exchanged numbers. Somehow you got mine, and you networked or whatever, and you just reached out to me. But we didn't have a meeting. We didn't like set up anything. You just we just encountered each other at the first night. It's the second night that we met, correct?
That was arranged, yeah.
Okay. Who was that arranged by?
I don't remember.
And that night, you're saying that we went, what did we do that night? Where did we meet?
We had that night, the night prior is where we met on Tuesday, we're at Township. It was the following day at Madison Social that we had arranged to meet again. And then, are you asking where we went after that?
Nope. I'm asking if we had a specific meeting, you and I, or was there I'm sorry, I should say, was there anything going on at Madison Social that evening?
Oh, not that I know of, not specifically. I did know that I was going to try to use this as a means to try to secure an internship.
But did you go that night? Because that was an evening where there were a lot of legislators. There was like a social happening there. So there were many people there. There was a lot of people, opportunity for you to network and meet. Is that why you went?
No, I just to meet you. And Nick and Cheryl, my roommate and friend, they were close. But no, I actually didn't know until much later on that other people, bigwigs, were actually in that room. I was not under that assumption when I walked in.
Okay. So Nick never told you that this is a great opportunity to network. He specifically wanted you to meet with me, but you and I were going to have a formal meeting at a social where all the legislators and staff were. That was the time. That was how we were going to formally meet to discuss your future. That's your position?
I'm getting quite confused. Can you restate that?
I'm just trying to understand. When we had this so-called arranged meeting, did I set the meeting?
I was under the assumption that you were aware and you wanted me. I didn't think I was just ambushing you, if that's what the statement is.
When you texted me on December 14th, did I respond?
I don't remember.
Did you text me on December 15th?
I don't know.
So you wouldn't remember if I responded either?
No, I don't remember anything.
Okay. We'll get to that.
Okay.
On December 15th, sorry, one more time. Did I reach out to you? Do you have any text message or phone log of me reaching out to you to meet with you?
I have no way to confirm or deny that.
Okay. Would it be safe to assume that Frevola might have reached out to you and let you know where we might be, and it would be a good way to run into me?
No, I remember it was at Township that we had agreed that, let's do this tomorrow.
Is it possible that would you remember that a Township, maybe Frevola would have told you what we were doing the next day because there was a big social going on at Madison, and that's why I would go there? So it would be an appropriate time for you to see me again.
What was your question?
I'm trying to understand how you got to Madison Social, because I'm asking you if you think, or you might think, but do you have any message from me where I'm setting a meeting to meet with you for your future as an unpaid volunteer, because there's no position available, so for your future at Madison Social, where I was going to be for a social with legislators and staff?
Can you shorten the question? That's just a little too, it's just a lot wordy.
Understand? I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to get from you if I reached out to you.
I don't think you reached out to me and said, "Hey, let's meet at Madison Social at this date and time." No, I don't remember a message like that.
Do you remember Nick telling me where we might be, and it would be a good opportunity for you to see me again?
I remember making an agreement to meet the next night at Madison Social.
Okay. Did you make that understanding with Nick?
I believe so.
So we had no exchange where we would be meeting the next day, you and I.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Now the next day at Madison Social, did you arrive alone?
No.
Who did you arrive with?
Cheryl Jameson Becker.
And that is a friend of yours?
Friend and roommate.
Okay, so it's safe to say you weren't coming to a meeting bringing your friend, correct? There was no formal meeting. You wouldn't come to an interview for a job position bringing a buddy, right?
I guess. It wasn't.
Mischaracterizes facts of evidence.
Overruled.
Thank you. Were you drinking at Madison Social?
Yes.
Do you remember how many drinks you might have had?
Nothing too crazy. I was the one that drove you to the bar.
When you say nothing too crazy, can you try to be a little more specific? On a normal basis, how many drinks do you have in an evening?
I'm unsure. I guess it depends. I don't think I had more than 2 or 3 drinks that night at Madison Social before I drove you to 926.
So, tell me why we went to 926 again?
I had an inkling that you might be able to meet somebody you would like there.
Are you a pimp?
No. I just understand it as a gay bar, and I thought you might be able to meet another gay man there.
Did I confirm any of my private life with you for you to assume that?
No, that was an assumption.
We're typecasting. Okay. Is it possible that I don't stay long? Sorry, do I stay long? Do you have any knowledge of how long I make appearances for at these events?
I have no idea.
Okay. Do you remember how long I stayed at Madison Social?
I don't remember.
Is it possible that I wanted to leave and you had mentioned that we hadn't had a chance to speak yet, and that you worked at a bar and you wanted to show me your bar and we could sit down and chat a bit? Do you remember that?
I think that's how you proposed it to me.
How would I have known that you worked at a bar?
I had already told you at that point.
And who suggested to go to your bar?
I brought it up because I got the feeling that you might be able to meet somebody there.
What day of the week was it?
I don't remember.
When we got to the bar, was there anyone there?
To be honest, I think there was like 2 or 3 people there. It wasn't a very busy night at all.
Do you remember there being literally 2 people? I believe one of them worked there and the other one was a regular at the bar far, far away, and we sat outside on plastic chairs.
That could be true. I'm not 100% sure how many people were actually in the building.
Do you remember you briefly telling me that you were interested to work for the House, and I telling you that there are no official positions
I
for...
expressed that on the first night at Township that I had an interest working on the House representative side as an unpaid intern.
Do you remember me telling you that, but you're more than welcome, you seem like a nice kid, you have a great resume, that you could shadow Nick and use that for whatever advantage it serves you? I'm happy to give you the experience. Do you remember that?
It did seem like you gave me some type of confirmation that an internship was in the books.
So, is it your position that I'm able to offer those positions?
I'd assume so.
You've worked in the government before.
Mhm.
What was your application process to get the position you had before? How many months did it take?
I don't remember. It was a really long, that was even longer ago than this situation.
Would it surprise you to know that it takes pretty much 90 days plus background checks and everything else for all positions, whether they're internships, district aides, legislative aides, anyone working for the House has to apply through the House.
That's interesting.
Okay. You didn't. Okay. We're going to talk about the rest of the evening. Is it your position that I stayed with you that night and you drove me home?
I had made an agreement with Nick to get you home safe. Yes.
So you might have made an agreement to take me home. Is it your position that I'm incapable of getting myself anywhere I need to be?
Can you say that again?
Do you have an impression of me that I'm not able to get where I need to go?
I don't understand. I think...
Is there some reason why someone I don't even know is making an arrangement with a legislative aide
that seemed...
to take me home?
That seemed more of like because of the situation with Nick going home for briefly. I think that's why that agreement got made. Yeah, I could have called you an Uber. I believe that was actually offered while we were at 926.
So it's your position that you, someone who needs work, is going to offer me to call me an Uber?
I proposed the idea to you. I said, why don't you Uber? I can drive you home.
Did I make any? I did ride. You remember driving me from Madison Social to the bar that you worked at?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of car do you have?
At that point, it was a Mazda.
What condition is your car?
The Mazda M3.
The interior.
Interior, it's tan or something. I can't.
Sorry, let me be more specific. Would it be safe to assume that you live the lifestyle of a college student, messy and dirty and smells like leftover takeout?
I would argue that claim. I think that I take very well care of my cars and motorcycle.
So there weren't sports equipment backpacks and there wasn't a smell. where I made a comment.
If that's how you remember it, then I apologize for my messy car.
Is it possible that you apologized that night as we joked about it?
No, I don't remember that.
So, would you find it far-fetched to me to think that your car was not in the condition that I would like to ride in ever again?
Maybe that's how you felt. I don't remember hearing that spoken from you.
So, would it be safe to assume that I didn't need an intern, almost volunteer, or whatever the title was you were seeking, to call me an Uber, that I would get my own self home?
It was pretty obvious that I don't think you needed me at the Capitol at all, but I think you wanted me there.
Now, that evening, is it your position that I did not stay for the one drinking conversation and then I left you there? Because, sorry, and did you not have plans? No, sorry, answer that question first.
Can you repeat the question?
Let me go back to the other question I should have asked first.
Okay.
Did you not have plans to go meet back up with your friends or whoever you were with earlier that evening? We had a brief conversation. Did you not have plans to go meet back out with?
No.
So it is your position that you drove me home.
Yes.
Did you continue drinking that night?
No. Not that I can recall, at least.
Do you ever drive drunk?
I really try not to. Have I done it before? Yes.
Have you ever caused any injury to anyone?
No.
Have you ever caused injury to yourself?
No.
Have you ever totaled your car?
Yes.
Okay. The night that allegedly you took me home, and whatever your feelings were, whatever it is you said that I did,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I have to go back again. Is your position?
Jack, this is, I think we're outside the scope of the rap.
Sustained. Next question.
Did you text me the morning of December 15th?
I cannot recall.
So it is your position that you had 3 drinks at Madison Social, you drank nothing else, and then you drove me home. That was the evening of the 14th. Sorry.
I cannot remember how many drinks I had. Maybe it was 3, maybe it was 5. I don't recall how many drinks I had. I wasn't paying for them.
Is there a limit of drinks that you had before your memory was blurred?
That's a great question. I'm not sure.
Is it reasonable to understand that if someone has many drinks, their memory could be affected?
Yeah, but I wouldn't elaborate or make up your sexual advances on me in the car just because I had a few drinks. If that's what we're trying to imply then.
I'm hearing your story.
Yeah.
I want to stick to the chronology of things because would it surprise you to say that I left you at the bar after we had a brief conversation and you continued out drinking all night with whoever you associate with?
Well, that's. Can you restate that again?
Would it surprise you that I forgot what I said? Is it your position that I did not leave you and make my own way home, and you stayed out drinking for the rest of the night with your friends?
No, I gave you a ride home that night. That was my position.
And tell me what happened the next day.
And in regards to?
The next day would be December 15th. What happened on December 15th?
I don't remember.
Objection calls for narrative. Let's be more specific. The court sustains its own objection. Be more specific.
Would it surprise you if I reminded you that you stayed out because I left you at that bar, you went back to meet up with whoever you associate with, kept drinking, ended up driving drunk, and totaled your car that night?
Objection, Your Honor. Correct, relevant, pure speculation.
I'd like to enter into.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to meet the parties at sidebar. All right, the objection is sustained. The jury will disregard the last question and act as if they never heard it. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the day for you. So what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to have you go ahead and leave those notepads face down. Because we're breaking, let me find that recess instruction for you again. And so I'll give you that that recess instruction, so that it'll remind you not to look at anything.
Other allegations happened other dates as well.
Understand? The first of your allegations happened on the night of the 15th, the 14th, I'm sorry.
I believe so.
Were they very offensive to you?
The hand on my thigh reaching towards
I'm not asking you for the details. I'm asking you yes or no questions. Were the acts very offensive to you?
That's what I'd say. Yes.
Yes. Did they make you think that I was not a decent person?
Well, to be honest, I wanted to know at all if you'd have any type of reaction to it, or if it was a very drunk and a thing that you'd be very apologetic about.
So, are you suggesting that you know the presence of my mind that evening?
I'm saying I don't know the presence of your mind at all.
Do you know how many drinks I had that evening?
Plenty,
How would you know that?
because you were buying them.
So, have you seen actual receipts of the evening?
No, sir.
You've never seen the receipts of that evening.
No, but I saw you pay tabs, if that's what you're referring to.
Tabs is plural, correct?
Yes.
So is it your position that I paid for a tab at both Madison Social and 926?
No, I believe at 926, I got you a free beer or some type of drink. Maybe not beer. I think I got myself a beer, but I don't remember you paying specifically at 926. But I do know at Madison Social, you had a tab running. Everything was going on your tab. You paid that tab.
Would it surprise you to know that I'm a generous person?
I don't know how to answer that.
Do I appear to be someone who can afford to be generous? Just your opinion.
I guess.
Are you familiar with it is customary for the boss or the legislator at these social events to sometimes buy a round for staff?
What was is that
Are
custom?
you familiar with the custom? You've been in the process. You've worked in this state government. Is it customary for legislators or those who can to sometimes purchase a round of drinks for the staff that attend these social functions?
In my previous experience at the Capitol, I hadn't had drinks paid for. But if there's, what your question is, is that custom to do? Is that expected?
Would you imagine it's not expected, but customary? Does it happen?
It does happen, yes.
And you wouldn't have direct experience of someone buying you drinks because you were not staff that night, correct? So you were not part of the group that would have been not expecting, but potentially just getting free drinks that night.
No, Cheryl, Jameson, Becker, and I arrived before your crowd did, and I had paid for my own drinks at that point. I didn't assume things like that.
You mentioned at 926 that I may have had a beer.
I know that I had a beer. I think that you had a cocktail of some kind, probably Tito's.
Is Tito's a very popular brand of vodka?
I think it's your preference. I don't know for sure.
Is it considered, you're a bartender, correct?
That is true.
Is that considered the house or well category?
No.
What category would you classify it?
Okay, what is your question? Vodka?
Is Tito's a high-end vodka?
There's other high ends as well, but yeah, I'd say it's better than the well. And it's a very common higher end one that people want.
Are you aware that Tito's, the large gallon, the larger bottle, is in the $20 range?
Objection, relevance?
Sustained. Next question.
Are you familiar with Chopin or Belvedere vodka?
No.
Same objection.
What's the relevance?
Do I appear that I'm drinking well drinks with staff?
Sustained.
You never saw a receipt from Madison Social, correct?
I was not privy to any receipts.
Would it surprise you to know that I exclusively drink one cocktail?
No.
Are you aware of what the mixed drink that I like is?
Objection, relevance.
What's the relevance?
There were only a couple of vodka Coke Zeros on the bill, and everything else was beers and stuff that everyone else drank.
I'm going
And I
to
bought.
I'm going to conditionally allow it at this point.
What was your question?
Are you aware of the type of drink? I mean, I just said it, but
Vodka Coke Zero?
you're familiar with the type of drink that I like, correct?
I'm no.
You were not prior.
I knew that you like vodka, and I knew that you drink Coke Zero. I didn't know that that was the only drink that you drink.
Would it surprise you to know that I don't drink fountain sodas?
I remember cans in the Capitol, but there also isn't a fountain machine there, so I didn't know that that was a specific of yours.
Would it surprise you that I don't drink from the gun? You're a bartender. You understand how those guns are maintained, correct? I'm sorry, how not so well those guns are maintained, correct?
Unsure.
You're not sure.
Not.
Are you a good bartender?
Yes.
Did you clean?
Sustained. Next question.
Would it surprise you to know that I prefer canned mixers and that I wouldn't drink out of a gun?
Okay.
So would it surprise you that I would not have had many drinks at a place that doesn't serve canned mixers?
Okay.
That's not a trick question.
Yes.
Trying to establish where you're saying that I'm drunk or wasted and I'm supposed to be meeting you. You came in with friends to a supposed meeting that was never arranged by me, to a social gathering where there are other legislators and House staff, correct?
Which part is correct?
If you came to a meeting, a supposed meeting that was never arranged by me at a place where there were legislators and staff for a social function.
Objection asked and answered yesterday. Detail.
Sustained.
Okay. So is it still your position that I was somehow wasted at a social function with my colleagues with staff present?
Given your behavior, the yes.
Are you aware that I'm a very social person?
I don't know what a.
Overruled.
What was your question again?
Yes to those objections.
Are you aware that I'm a very social person?
Sure.
It's surprising you to know that I've been going to cocktail parties since I was legally able, probably before.
Sustained. Next question.
Would it surprise you to know that I can handle my liquor?
Sustained. You'll disregard the question.
I'm going to go with your story. You stated that, can you just remind me who was at once we left Madison Social, who was at the quieter spot, 926, so that we can have a conversation and I can get to know you?
Objection asked and answered yesterday.
Sustained. Next question.
Because I don't remember, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I believe it was yourself, me, and Nick that were there, and you claimed that you drove me home.
To your hotel at the DoubleTree, yes. Because I had made a promise to Nick to get you home safely.
Thank you for that. You're stating that I was staying at the DoubleTree Hotel.
I believe it was the DoubleTree. Excuse me if that might have been wrong, but it was in downtown. It was it wasn't far away from the 926 location.
You sounded more confident the first time.
Could have sworn it was the DoubleTree. I apologize.
Would it surprise you to know that I was staying at the Aloft?
That makes sense. Remember, yes, sure.
It's not trick questions. I'm just trying to make sure that the variations of your recollection match. You could swear that it was the DoubleTree, and now that I'm telling you it's the Aloft, which is in a completely separate part of this area, that's not relevant, not around the corner downtown.
If you had a map, I could point it on a map.
Well, hold on. What's the objection? Overruled.
If you asked me to draw on a map exactly where I took you, I'd be able to put you there. And then at that moment, I'd realize that it was at the Aloft.
Had you ever been to either of those hotels before?
I do not recall. I don't think so.
Would it surprise you to know that the DoubleTree Hotel is kind of a knockoff of Philip Stark? It's very recognizable with its columns and entryway on the corner. It's a.
Overruled.
Yes.
It would surprise you to know that. Okay.
Now, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Would it surprise you to know that the DoubleTree is a very distinctive, very recognizable hotel here? It has what I describe as Philip Stark knockoff pillars, columns in the front. It's a very recognizable corner, big chandeliers. You can't miss it. It's a main hotel here in downtown Capitol.
Would that surprise me?
Would it surprise you that it's a very recognizable building with its architecture and its contents and the big giant chandelier? Would it surprise you to know that that's the hotel?
No. Yes, no.
Would it surprise you to know that the Aloft is the complete opposite? You almost don't know it's there.
Okay.
It almost looks like a commercial building. Would it surprise you to know that there are very different hotels?
That would not surprise me.
So back again, you drove me, I'm going with your version of this, you drove me to one of those two hotels, which you're going to try to remember better for this next answer. You drove me home.
Objection, move to strike for the comment.
Sustained, you'll disregard. Restate your question, Mr. Basabe.
Would you like me to ask you again where you drove me home?
To the hotel that you were staying at.
Sustained, next question.
You were offended by my behavior that night, correct?
I was shocked.
Had anyone ever treated you that way before?
In regards to what?
To your allegations.
Which one? The hand on the thigh, reaching towards my penis, or the whispering in my ear, talking about sex, or something else?
Anyone else?
No, I've never. That was pretty an extreme. Now, have I been hit on before where a guy has come up like that before? Then yeah. But this is the most extreme, I guess, case.
Do you think that that
Adult.
is? Do you think that that is being hit on?
Yes, I'd say so.
Would it surprise you that most people would take that as an assault?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained, next question.
You were very uncomfortable, correct?
You could say that, yes.
Had you lost trust and confidence in me?
I had made some assumptions about you, that's for sure.
Did you think that I was going to be your best friend?
Probably not.
Was I going to be your everyday buddy that you talk to?
No.
Am I going to be did you believe that I would be the person that you would tell details to about your personal life?
No.
Did you think after those actions that I would be the type of person that you would tell anything about your life?
I'm unsure.
Did you text me the next morning?
Yes.
Do you remember what you said in that text?
Yes.
Can you repeat that?
I believe I messaged you saying you'll never believe what happened last night. And then I followed that up by saying that I hydroplaned my car and believe that I messed up my bumper and axle, or something along those lines. I had reached out to you, seeing that if you were going to go off rip, hey, I'm really sorry about last night. I lost my composure. I was way too drunk. I apologize.
Sorry.
That is not what happened. You just continue to.
Sorry, may I ask you to stick to the answer?
Yes.
I understand the framing that you're getting to, but that's not what I'm asking.
Understood.
So you're stating that your message was, you'll never guess what happened last night.
Something along those lines.
Would it be okay for us to, if I were to tell you that was the message, if I would confirm with you that was your message, would you accept that?
Yeah.
Okay. So your message was, you'll never guess what happened last night.
Yes.
Do you remember what time that was?
Early in the morning.
And you said you followed that up.
I believe so, yeah.
Did I respond to you?
I believe afterwards you sent me your location to go apartment shopping with you. That's when I rejected that.
Are you a realtor?
I'm not a realtor.
Are you a decorator?
I think you wanted me to come with you just to be with you, not to be a guide or some type of realtor for you, if that was your question.
Are you a professional companion?
No.
Okay. Would it surprise you that that was not my next message to you?
Oh, your next message must have been, tell me everything. And then you followed up by then sending your location.
So, and thank you for bringing up the location. I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
Now, we didn't really know each other, and you stated I had behaved inappropriately. Wouldn't it be safe to assume that your first message, and I don't know your personality, but wouldn't it be, dude, last night was weird, or are you okay if I was in such a bad condition and you still felt responsible for me? Do you think that your message was the appropriate message considering what you alleged happened?
I thought it might feel appropriate to know if I got home safe. I guess that message was saying that I'm trying to feel out if you had any remorse or kind of like explanation of what happened the night before. That's pretty much where I was getting at that. But at that point, I'd already assumed.
Would you, do you believe that you were articulate with your words?
I tried to be.
Are you someone who's direct and to the point?
I can try to be.
Would it surprise you that I actually think you are articulate and you communicate directly?
Thank you.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand where a personal matter has nothing to do with me. Sorry, let me go back. If I treated you the way your allegations state, could you take from that that I have no respect for you whatsoever, that I would treat another human being with that? I'm asking his own personal feelings. How
Again,
she said speculation.
But I guess I heard the question.
Repeat the question.
Great. Now I don't remember what it was.
I think it's take from that, I have no respect for you whatsoever, that I would treat another human being like that. As to speculation would be sustained. All right, you may proceed or re-ask the question if my memory of the question was incorrect.
If those allegations were true, did you feel I respected you?
No.
Did you think I care anything about you?
The next morning when
So I'm only asking about if the allegations you stated, are they, in your opinion, did they give you an impression that you said that I didn't respect, that I wouldn't respect, that you don't think I respected you, to give you any impression that I care anything about you?
Your Honor, I would ask that when the witness is answering, that Mr. Basabe allow him to submission.
No, understood.
Yes, Your Honor.
I had made a few assumptions about you. I think the lack of respect was one.
Would it surprise you to know that I don't think of you?
Okay.
Now, do you not think it odd that someone who treated you badly, gave you no impression that they respect you or care about you at all, would care anything about your goings on the evening prior?
I don't understand.
We're not friends, correct?
No.
We never were, correct?
No.
I never gave you my number, correct?
Actually, yeah, I believe you did.
Yesterday, if I can remind you, and I'll ask again, you said I did not give you the number, but yet you did reach out to me because you got my number from Frevola to network or whatever. Would you like to correct that answer?
Assuming facts not in evidence, but
It was his testimony from yesterday.
The objection, the question is stated, is sustained. Ladies and gentlemen, your memory of the evidence will guide you as to this case. You can re-ask your question in a different way.
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry, it's hard to stay in the train of thought here. May I ask the stenographer to repeat my last the last question, if that's allowed, or the one right before, just so I see where I was? I'm okay, I think. So, with the way you said I was treating you, you maintain that I showed you no respect or regard. Do you think your text message the next day was the appropriate message to send to somebody like me?
I think I was fishing for an apology.
But you're a very direct person and
I don't think it's appropriate. I'm sorry, you can finish your question.
you said that you're a direct person and you're good with your words. How is that fishing for an apology?
I said I try to be, and given the circumstances, I might have been. You'll never believe what happened last night, or never guess what happened last night. Might make you believe that that's me trying to be friendly with you or whatnot. But I was really trying to see where you were coming from, and if you had some type of, hey, this happened, this or that.
So after being assaulted, you were not in shock.
I don't think it was appropriate also to text, hey, what the heck, why'd you touch me like that last night, to me who's sitting.
Have you had time to think about that answer?
Not as much.
It's been 3.5 years. Do you think that's enough time to think about your answer better?
I've thought a lot about my own actions as opposed to.
That wasn't the question.
Okay.
So,
Let him answer the question.
yes, Your Honor, if I can instruct him to just answer my questions.
You can object if there's a legal objection, and state the legal objection, and I'll rule on the objection if it's non-responsive or whatever, but
Yes, Your
you
Honor.
will let him answer the question subject to a legal objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
And same thing, he'll let you finish your question subject to some sort of objection from opposing counsel. All right, go ahead. Next question, Mr. Basabe.
Are you homophobic?
No.
Do you have a perception of gay culture?
Perception as in.
How they meet, how they make passes at each other, how they get together, how they hit on people?
Well, working at a bar where that's part of its identity, then I would say that yes, I can understand some of those things.
So are you correlating gay bar culture with everyday gay and lesbian lifestyle?
Sustained.
Would it surprise you to know that gay people are just like everyone else?
It does not surprise me at all.
Would it surprise you to know that they're emotional beings?
Objection, relevancy.
Sidebar.
Respectful and ask for consent, word or lower or understand gay culture from afar and show.
Objections sustained. Next question.
Would it surprise you to know that members of the LGBTQ community would take offense to being perceived as aggressive deviants?
Sustained based on the last ruling. Next question.
Let me go back to your text message. Do you still believe that your text message was the appropriate message to send somebody who had disrespected you so much?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained. Next question.
Did you expect me to respond?
I expected you to apologize. But yeah, that's the response.
So, you had stated that I showed no respect for you whatsoever or consideration, yet you expect me to apologize to you.
I didn't do the same things you did to me, to you.
And you're saying I did respond to you?
Yes.
You remember my response?
You said something.
An answer. The witness can do it the last time.
It was tell me everything.
Then did we speak?
I believe it was a phone call.
Did you not just say that it was a text?
After that message, then we had a phone call where that's when you invited me to go apartment shopping. That's when you sent me your location.
Now, you're saying that I sent you my location. Do you know the date of that? Was it immediately after that phone conversation?
I believe it was next morning.
Would it surprise you to know that the location we're discussing was on February 21st?
Oh, no.
It would not surprise you?
Well, I guess that would surprise me. I saw it in the same message printout.
And it is your position that I sent you a location months later to go apartment shopping?
That is not how I understand it to go.
Are you aware of how I purchase properties?
No.
Would it surprise you to know that I don't like shopping?
Relevance.
Sustained. Next question.
Would it surprise you to know that I had already purchased an apartment when we met?
I guess no.
It wouldn't surprise you. Okay. Why would I go apartment shopping when I already purchased an apartment?
I'm unsure.
Me neither. Would it surprise you to know that when I bought my apartment, it was the moment I was elected, I didn't expect to be elected. The moment I was elected, I made one phone call and
Hold on.
To strike the last comment.
Sustained, you'll disregard. You may start your question over without the comment.
would it surprise you to know that I purchased my apartment in November?
No, maybe it wasn't apartment shopping. Maybe it was helping you move stuff into the apartment. Had something to do with your apartment, and I ultimately rejected that the following morning.
And I'm just getting the timeline here. We had texted on the 15th of December, but then on the 21st of February, I sent you my location to ask you to come and do something with my apartment, correct?
Now, I'd like to clarify if the location that was sent was 2 months later, or a month in February, then I just correlated whenever I saw those messages, I just correlated that to being the apartment thing that you were trying to invite me the next day. But I did not realize that the dates on that were so different. That was an error on my part.
But was it your recollection without looking at your text messages that I had sent you my location the next day after we spoke?
I remember that you had talked about meeting me at a location. And so whenever I saw that, I assumed that that was correlating with it. Apparently it wasn't. My apologies.
Would it refresh your memory if the location sent was to the Millionaire Airport?
I don't know.
Relevance, where are we going?
Sustained beyond the scope and relevance. Next question.
Do I answer the relevance? Or is it
No, the objection's been sustained. Next question.
with the location that I sent you, was there a follow-up text to that?
No. Oh.
Would it surprise you to know that the follow-up text would read, "What is your address? We're sending you an Uber."
I don't have those messages.
May I approach and give him this to remind him, Your Honor? I have copies for everybody. It's the same copy. My primary phone. I'm on this side.
Okay, you are on the right side?
Yes. It's okay?
All right, you may approach. This is a refreshing recollection. I don't need it if I need it.
I would like to enter it into evidence, Your Honor.
At this point, no. You may proceed with your next question.
Do you see the date? I'm sorry. Do you see the name of who this message is to?
Yes.
It says primary. This is my primary phone. Would you concede that this is a text message between you and me?
Yes.
The next message says, "What is your address? We're sending you an Uber." Do you have any recollection of why I sent you that location and why I would be sending you an Uber?
Your Honor, relevance, can we have a proffer of where this is going?
Yeah, I'll see it sidebar. Let me see the.
He says that I shot location. When I sent him my location, he just said something else.
The objection sustained.
Do you still need a copy? Do you remember being asked to meet constituents of mine at the private airport here in Tallahassee?
I'm not sure.
Looking at the conversation, does that help refresh your memory?
It says, "What's your address? We're sending you a
No,
new."
no, sir, let's answer the question. Don't read it out. Does that refresh your memory?
Not really.
All right, next question.
From the date that you sent me the message on December 15th, thinking I'd care about whatever you did that night, is there any other message between us until the day you were late for work and we said we'd send you an Uber?
He has just made a statement that is not in evidence. There's no.
That's not an evidence is sustained. You'll disregard the last question. Next question.
Do we have any other communications between you and I?
No.
So, with your statement that we don't have any other communications, I'm just going to re-go through the order so I can stay in my momentum here. We have a message on the 15th. Then we have a message on February 21st. If I didn't apologize for these heinous behavior on the first time, why are we so nonchalant on the second messages? So matter of fact, like ready to go to work, like nothing happened.
I think I'd explained that previously.
Okay. Let me move on. Your Honor, I don't know if I'm supposed to enter this now as evidence, because as an exhibit, it's the
Complete series.
I have the follow-up messages.
Hold on. What's the objection?
It's incomplete. It's made references to a series, and this is incomplete.
All right, under the
Confirmed.
completeness, do you have I'll allow the plaintiff to enter any other objection?
No, sir.
All right, and what is this? I don't think this one's been marked. Is this Defense Exhibit 2 for identification?
I believe we're on number 3 or 4, Your Honor, but
Number 2.
what do I put it as?
Defense Exhibit 2 is admitted.
Do I put it as 2 parts, both text
No.
messages as one exhibit? It's just a screenshot of everything.
Okay, that's fine. Let's show the defense counsel. Well, actually, let me see what is in the witness's hand. This is Defense Exhibit 2, a one-page document. I'm giving it to the clerk. That's what is authenticated.
Is that the one with the map on it?
It is the one that was handed to the defendant and he authenticated, or excuse me, to the plaintiff and he authenticated it. That is Defense Exhibit 2.
No. The February 21st date is at the bottom, coming from the next.
Well, I'll admit, if you guys want to admit something else, but what was authenticated in front of this court was Defense Exhibit 2, a one-page document. If you want to look at what the clerk has, feel free to come up and look.
Same thing. Map one.
You want to
That was the only page, right?
just the location?
I'm allowed this one.
Correct.
And then, Your Honor, the first.
All right, no. Come look at what the clerk has. That is Defense Exhibit 2. To the extent that the parties need to deal with something else, you can lay the proper foundation or agree to its admission. What has been admitted is the properly authenticated Defense Exhibit 2. All right, parties can lower their voices and step to the side if they wish.
May I have a moment?
You may.
Your Honor, we would actually agree to both documents being admitted as a defense exhibit.
All right, well, the other one will be Defense Exhibit 3 because Defense Exhibit 2 has already been admitted. But if the parties agree to Defense Exhibit 3, the other page, we can have it marked as such. By agreement of the parties, Defense Exhibit 3 is admitted.
Yes, sir.
With that, Mr. Basabe, you may
Thank
proceed.
you, Your Honor. After the incidents that you now describe, you continued interacting with my office, correct?
I thought I wouldn't hear back from you after the initial no contact.
Wasn't the question.
Sorry, repeat the question.
Did you continue interactions with my office?
Asked and answered.
Overruled.
Did not.
It's like, I'm sorry, one more time. Did I continue to reach out?
Did you continue interacting with my office after these vile allegations?
Not until January.
It's a yes or no. Did you continue communications with my office?
Not until, no,
Plural. You did not, but you did in January.
in January when I got offered.
Sorry. Between December 15th and January was Christmas break, so that's what happened between December 15th and January?
Regarding?
Are there any holidays?
Sure, yes.
Is the house expected to be open during these holidays?
No.
So would it be reasonable that your interactions would begin after the new year?
No.
Sorry, but you did contact my office in January.
Well, given that there's such a short period, long period for the application process, I would assume that we would have gotten that started sooner. But I actually didn't think I got it until.
Were you under the impression that there was a position available to work for me at the House of Representatives?
Initially, and then after that night, not so much.
So again, so you waited till January to contact my office for what reason?
I did not contact your office.
Did you contact anyone working from my office?
No.
You did not contact Nick Frevola.
I believe he's the one that contacted me.
So there were communications between you and my office.
I thought I was ghosted and I didn't think that the position still existed for me.
Again, it was your position that I had told you clearly when we spoke that there was no position available. My positions were filled.
No, my understanding was that there was a possibility at that point I already had figured out my class schedule, so Tuesdays and Thursdays I believe were already established, and I think I even mentioned that, it'd be very part-time, I don't even be there all day, this and that. But then after the series of events that happened in December, I didn't think I was going to get reached out back to by Nicholas Frevola. It was a surprise to me when he did.
You're familiar a little bit with the structure of offices here at the House, correct?
To some capacity.
So would it surprise you to know that we get two positions, a district aide and a legislative aide?
That was similar on the Senate side. I think there was another intern as well on the Senate side. I wasn't sure how it worked on the House Rep side.
Are you familiar with the application process? I believe yesterday you said yes. I just want to refresh your memory on the application process.
I don't know well enough to speak on it.
Would it surprise you that it takes months?
I think you had said that yesterday.
So if I were to
Staying asked and answered. Next question.
If I were to offer you a position because do you believe I needed help in my office?
That's been answered, Your Honor. We went through all this yesterday.
Staying. Next question.
Do you believe the timing would be appropriate to offer a new position, which takes a long time to get, in the middle of committee weeks in session?
We went through this yesterday, I believe.
Sustained, asked and answered. Next question.
You stated that Nick Frevola reached out to you to offer you a position.
Asked and answered.
Sustained.
Do you have any impression that Nick Frevola is anyone of relevance to offer you a position on behalf of the House of Representatives?
As a paid legislative aide for you, yeah.
Are you aware that we don't do the hiring?
I'm unsure how that works.
Would it surprise you to know that we don't?
Asked and answered. We went through this yesterday.
Sustained.
Apologize, Your Honor. This is why I'm just trying to stay in the sequence of my questions.
Well, let's not rehash the things we've already talked about. Question.
Also, I'd like to correct that
No, so let's, next question.
After being contacted by Nick, and you having the impression there was a position, you continued communications normally with my office, correct?
with Nicholas Frevola,
There would be no assumptions that you and I would talk. You have no official capacity, correct?
We went through this yesterday about
Okay.
the limited communications, asked and answered.
Sustained. Next question.
Now, we've established there's a December 15th and a February 21st. And you said those are the only communications between us. Do you recall any other time we might have communicated?
via text.
Yes.
Via text, no, I think those are the only messages that exist.
Did you tell Nicholas Frevola that you were having some issues with someone in your family?
Scope of direct.
Sustained. Next question.
in March or April of 2023, were you going through anything personally?
Objection, relevance, outside scope of direct.
Sustained.
Would it surprise you to know that on April 11th of 2023, I sent you a message?
No, I don't have those messages.
Do you delete your messages?
No, I broke my phone like December 16th. I just recently was able to get the messages where you had sent the location, which was on the 15th, by the way. And then I don't have any of the previous messages before that.
Would it surprise you to know that on April 11th, I sent you a message saying, "How are you doing?"
Relevance, outside scope of direct. I'm not sure where we're going with that.
Sustained. Next question. You'll disregard the last question.
I'm sorry, I don't want to ask. The rest of these questions are similar, and may I have a sidebar done to explain why I don't want to do anything incorrect?
Next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I just reconfirm that I had asked you, would you be surprised that there was a text message from us on April 11th?
I don't recall or have access to those messages now.
Would it surprise you that I don't wish you ill?
Thank you.
Would it surprise you?
I'm not sure anything would really surprise. I can't assume what you think.
I'm not asking what I think. I'm asking you, who's alleged to me to be some vile deviant. Would it surprise you to think that this human being in front of you wishes you no ill will?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained. The jury will disregard the last question. Next question.
Almost done then, and I'm just going over some things he said yesterday that I have notes on. Just something I want to clear up. You had mentioned that I sought you out to bartend for a cocktail party in my office. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you remember any text message communication or otherwise of how that would have occurred?
This is when I was already working at the Capitol in your presence. This is when you asked me in person to do so.
So to be clear, you were never officially working at the Capitol, but you were at the Capitol.
I was very much under the assumption I was working at the Capitol as an unpaid intern. Whatever rules and things to follow, I was assumed that I was actually there.
Did you go through the intake process for the formal interns of the House?
I do not recall.
They're substantial. You would, but do you remember being told by Nick Frevola that you're just a volunteer?
Unpaid intern.
So again, would it surprise you to know that official interns of the House, you're correct, they're not paid, but would it surprise you that they still must go through an application process?
An answer.
Sustained. Next question.
The interaction you claim we had where I sought you out to be a bartender, were you a fallback?
Can you clarify? Sought out?
You said that I had asked you to come in and bartend for a cocktail party, correct?
Yeah, you had told me that in the office.
Do you remember which day I told you that?
That was the day that the Miami Chamber came.
It was the exact day.
I believe so. I believe so.
Could it be literally the morning of, like an hour before, correct?
I think that, yeah, I think that could be true.
So, do you know that you were the fallback option? Okay. Would it surprise you? Would it surprise you to know?
Stop. Let me hear the objection. The objection. Oh.
Would it surprise you to know that I already had a bartender scheduled for that morning?
I was not aware of that.
Would it surprise you to know that I know how to throw a cocktail party?
I was not aware of that.
Relevance here.
Sustained. You'll disregard the last question and answer.
Do you remember our conversation?
The clerk
Yes,
is speaking. Let me make my rulings and then I'll let you know when to proceed. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you remember our dialogue of that morning?
Yes, that's when you asked if this was the Miami Chamber meeting with the bartending event that's what you're referring to. This is when you made the comment about being eye candy to be more flirtatious, reminded me to sign the NDA, and then asked me to bartend. You said make sure I'm smiling, make sure I'm very
Sorry.
clean,
Go ahead.
nails clean as well. I know where you're commenting on that, and that's that. Yeah.
So it's your position that I got all of that content in your head before I needed you to be my emergency bartender.
When you called me into the office, yeah.
So does your position you were not already in the office working on a newsletter?
Can you repeat that?
You just stated that I called you into the office, correct?
That would happen, yes.
And you and I have had very limited communications, correct?
Can you explain what limited might mean?
Is it your position you were not already in the office working on a newsletter that day?
That's what the case was, yes.
I'm sorry. So you were in the office already that day working on a newsletter with Michael?
I don't think Michael actually. I don't think I started working with Michael until towards the end of February, or the beginning of March. That was already when I decided that I was leaning towards going remote. And I remember working with him. I don't think at the beginning of February, Michael and I had actually communicated at all. But I could be wrong. I don't have those messages either.
We could leave Michael out of it.
Okay.
Is that okay with you? He's irrelevant, not a witness here. I want to ask about you. Were you in the office that day already working on a newsletter?
Yes.
So I didn't call you in to bartend, correct?
What do you mean by call me in? I thought the assumption was that I was going to be bartending for these people.
Would it surprise you I had a confirmed bartender that had a last-minute cancellation? And did you become aware of that because you were already in the office?
Yeah.
Overruled.
I was not privy to that information. That you already had a bartender a bartender canceled on you.
I'm sorry. It's your position that I was about to receive a large group of my constituency and I was unprepared?
Would I be surprised by that?
Or is it your position that I was unprepared to greet a lot of my constituency?
Potentially, but I don't know.
Do you remember me a little upset and disappointed because my bartender canceled last minute? He had another work emergency.
I'd explain that I was not privy to your bartending previous reservations.
Now, you described that I was doing a cocktail party at my office, so I just went with your phrasing. Do you remember what was served at this cocktail party?
Yes, it was Bloody Marys, and I believe another thing, but all I know for sure is it was Bloody Marys. That's pretty much what everybody was drinking.
Again, this is not a trick question because that's correct. My guest happens to love Bloody Mary, so do you remember me asking you if you knew how to make a Bloody Mary?
I don't remember you asking me, but at that point I would have already known how to make a Bloody Mary.
Do you remember leaving the desk while you were working on the newsletter to run to the store to go get Bloody Mary mixed contents?
I believe
contents.
I briefly remember that, yeah.
Would you consider that have been a last-minute emergency?
That also seems like there wasn't preparation, but yes, I guess so.
A bartender would have had notice because there's a lot of ingredients to a Bloody Mary, correct?
Depends on how you...
Sustain as to relevance. Move on.
Do you remember how many Bloody Marys you made that day?
I don't remember exactly.
Would it be safe to assume you made one per person as a welcome drink?
That's how I remember it. I'm not 100% sure if people grabbed seconds or not, but I definitely served everybody one.
Did you make me one?
I don't recall for certain.
Would it surprise you to know that I think they're disgusting?
Relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained. You'll disregard the last question. I'll see everyone at sidebar. Next question.
You stated that in this unprepared or last minute bartending opportunity, I put all of that content on you. Immediately, you had to sign an NDA and all the other things you said. All that happened while I sent you out to go get mixers to go make a welcome drink for my constituency. All of that happened that same time. Is that your position?
I'm going to object. It's mischaracterization. Last minute, the rest of it, I have no problem.
Sustained. You'll disregard last minute. You may re-ask your question if you wish, or he may answer it.
I would only change that to the morning of.
Can you repeat the question?
Is it your position that the morning of my constituency arriving, that I had asked you to make a welcome drink, read and sign an NDA, and a bunch of other things you said earlier that I'm not aware of?
My position is you called me into your office, you checked my hygiene by looking at my nails and my face, then you asked me to be more flirty and smiley with you. You said that before we really continue, I need you to sign this NDA. Don't forget to do that, and I will need you to bartend. And then yes, I do remember going to pick up Bloody Mary mix and then going to make Bloody Marys. Whether you already had an appointment figured out and that fell through, or if you just decided last minute to make these people Bloody Marys, that was not something I was privy to.
So, I'm just setting the clock for the time we have left. These are awkward questions, but they were brought up, and I don't even know how to address them, but there was a statement that you heard in this courtroom, something about bottom and top. Are you familiar with what that means?
Yes.
An answer, Your Honor.
Okay.
Overruled. If he wants to use his time for this, you may answer.
Yes, I am aware of the difference between top and bottom, given it's pretty, I think, obvious, maybe.
So, if somebody prefers one over the other, would it be understanding? Sorry, were you surprised to hear testimony that I may or may not be one position, but then I was after another position with your friend Frevola?
I'm not sure all of your sexual proclivities, but I don't think there's, I don't know what you're really asking, maybe.
Honestly, I think it's distasteful. I'm just going to skip this line of questioning because it's just so inappropriate. Did you ever speak to me about your fiance?
You asked me multiple times about her, and
It's a yes or no question.
yes, you asked me.
Did you volunteer information to me that you were having concerns and unsure about your engagement?
I was very rock solid of my engagement at that point. We were only really a few months out.
Were you in a financial position to get married at the time?
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
Did you tell anybody about the alleged initial assault?
Yes.
The day of? The morning after?
Cheryl Jamison Becker, who had left, I had told her immediately. My wife, Corinne, who was on a cruise, I waited until she got home from the cruise to tell her. And it wasn't until time passed that I told family members.
So your close friends and family members, correct?
I said that my friend and roommate Cheryl Jamison Becker, I had told her the night of, and then I had also told my wife, then at that point, my fiance, that what happened when she got back from the cruise.
Would it be okay for me to assume that those are your close friends and family? You live with them and they're related to you.
Yes.
Did any of them do anything about it?
Objection relevance outside.
Okay.
Sustained. Next question.
In June, there was a publication, my tweet, that said that it brought you back into this. Can you describe how my tweet brought you back into this?
I'm not sure. I just know how it felt for me.
Can you describe how it felt for you after reading my tweet?
I was pretty frustrated because I understood the reality of what happened. For you to ignore it entirely was disturbing. And I also worried that if you were to get any future interns or aides, this behavior was going to be repeated. So that there was some guilt as well, because I didn't know if I had done enough to point out your wrongdoings.
Were you contacted by anybody?
I had received multiple messages or calls from people.
Were you affected by all this contact?
Yes.
Did it impact you so greatly that you had to have separate last names when you got married?
We made a personal decision. That for career applications might be best to keep it other ways. But also, she is independent. She's able to do what she wants. We also already had conversations about that.
Did you feel that your last name, in association with this case, would have had a negative impact on either of your careers?
I would really hope no employer would negatively look back on seeing anything like that. It'd be actually very disheartening to hear that an employer would not want to hire me or my wife because of any type of adjacency to it. But I also understand the reality that that there is a lawsuit, that we're here now, and that that could interfere with an active going on thing. Especially whenever you look into it, you can see messages from your page or whatnot.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm limited on time. Let me just get to the next question. You took precautions anyway, correct?
What precautions?
You maintained separate last names so that if there was a Google search, it wouldn't affect your wife.
Yes, that was part of what we had.
Because potentially you believed it would be damaging, correct?
I would hope that it wouldn't be.
I understand, but you took precautions because you believed it might be damaging, correct?
Yes.
And you are seeking to hold me accountable, correct?
That is true.
And we're in a civil court, correct?
Yes.
Did you read this NDA that you signed?
At the time, I probably did, yes.
Are you aware that an NDA, or any contract for that matter, is valid from the date that it's signed going forward, correct?
Objection, calls for legal conclusion.
Sorry, you'll disregard the question. Next question.
Rephrase the question. Did you read anything in the contract that let you believe that contract you were signing applied retroactively?
I've never signed any NDA before. I wasn't sure 100% how an NDA works, or how they work.
You have a very impressive resume, correct?
Kind of. Wish it was more beefed up.
Would you be surprised that I think it's impressive?
Thank you.
Would you be surprised that I think you're very literate and competent in your reading capabilities, correct?
Sustain. Next question.
Would it surprise you to know that that specific NDA is valid from the date it's signed going forward?
Your Honor, objection. I'm not sure what I'm looking at right now. It feels threatening. Sidebar.
You may. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you take a brief recess, and we're going to do one after we talk. If you'll leave those notepads face down, we'll take our first break of the morning. All right, the jury is part of the courtroom. Everyone may be seated. With that, Ms. Fleiker.
Your Honor, I'm not sure what this is, but I feel that this is a not so subtle threat to my client, that he better sit down and shut up. What are we doing here? He's already done a tweet that reads, "Let this stand as a warning who would try to harm," and now he's going into a line of questioning, referencing back an NDA. I'd like to know where we're going with this. I find it highly inappropriate and even offensive.
Well, I don't know if I'd say all that, but where are we going with this, Mr. Basabe?
Your Honor, I'm just trying to establish that he read it and that it was going forward. But if I was asking him to sign an NDA without any coverage for past events, what relevance would it had? If I supposedly assaulted him, wouldn't I have built that in to protect myself if that was the point of an NDA? And there's no threat whatsoever that for her interpreting my opinion in my tweet. My statement is being read out of context. The warning was if you the entire exhibit's admitted and anybody can deduce that I started with a statement that when something is said and not proven, the warning that I'm setting is that I will fight it. I will fight and get my truth out there. And I put the statement of the conclusion of the court. That's not a threat. That's a statement of the matter of fact of what I was representing in my opinion tweet.
Well, here's the concern I have, Mr. Basabe. She objected previously on legal conclusion, and you turn around, and I sustain that objection, and you turn around and ask the very same question, you just reworded it, that still called for a legal conclusion. So once again, you keep going, the court makes rulings, and then you blow right past the rulings and do what you want to do. And that's concerning. Where are we going with this? I'll stop that clock. I'll give you a little bit of extra time. You've got about 4 minutes left, but I'm not sure what. I don't have an operative document. I don't know that there's a legal operative document. What are we doing? Where are we going? This is.
No, I can skip the NDA. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, I'm not saying you do or don't have to. I'm just saying what's come in thus far, or what has been proposed to come in, I should say, because I've sustained the objections time after time. What's proposing calls for legal conclusions there, and frankly, we're in 403 territory now. We're confusing issues, and we have spent so much time on something that I'm struggling to see the relevance of it.
Your Honor, would it be okay to just ask if I could just enter what the contents of my NDA state? Would they accept that? I don't have to discuss it again.
Absolutely not, Your Honor.
And what would be your theory of entry, your legal theory of entrance of the admission of this proffered NDA be?
The NDA in no way protects anybody from crimes. It's about contents of my home, personalities they meet. It's about taking selfies and saying that these things are yours or they're not. Miami is famous for people taking selfies with other people's rental cars and becoming influencers. My NDA has nothing to do with the behavior alleged in this case.
I would agree it has nothing. So I don't know why we've spent so much time on it. We're chasing every shiny object out there under 403 and the court's own inherent powers. And I don't, let me look at the exact number. I thought it was 611, but
they've made it a centerpiece and they're...
No, it's not 611. I think it's 612. I'm going to disallow it. I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes breaks. You'll have 4 minutes remaining when we return. But we're chasing every little shiny object, missing the forest through the trees, and we're going to get this case back on track. Again, I had no idea that we would still be here. It's almost 11 a.m. And we've been, recovering ground we covered yesterday. So we'll be in recess for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back. You have 4 minutes remaining as to this witness.
Thank you, Your Honor.
How many times does he get to slap all of this in the face? I have things to do other than watch Clown Man. I am disgusted is what I am. With K, Viker, V-I-K-E-R.
Oh my God, was this on when I went to the bathroom earlier and peed? Did you hear me pee? Sorry, that's so funny. I didn't even think of it.
Mike, pull a Trump?
I've done reality TV. You think I'd know?
Back to session.
You would.
Everyone may be seated. Let's go ahead and bring the witness back to the witness stand. We were ready to bring in the jury.
Honor, before we bring in the jury, may I just ask? I'm trying to stay so focused here, and every chance this counsel next to me gets an opportunity, there's a dig, calling me a dumbass. And the way I don't need someone trying to get in my head while I'm trying to focus on my defense.
What are you talking about? I haven't heard any of that language while we're in court.
I wasn't during court as well.
Well, I don't know that I have jurisdiction to deal with your conduct when you guys are outside this court. Again, we talked about that a little bit earlier. What I have heard in Florida is is side comments during questioning, and that's gotta stop, but, how you guys act outside of this courtroom, I'm gonna leave that to you. And you guys have gotta deal with that on your own. That's not a matter that this court has jurisdiction to address.
Thank you.
So,
I'm ready, Your Honor.
all right, let's go ahead and bring in the jury.
Do I go back over there?
All right, everyone may be seated with that. Mr. Basabe, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I ask the stenographer just to remind me my place to ask question he answered? Thank you. So, months later, and with all these allegations, if you had believed I was such an intimidating or vile or threatening person, why did you even bother signing the NDA?
I brought me his outfit.
Sustained.
It's my last question.
We're done with the NDA. Sustained. Stop asking about it.
That was the last question, Your Honor. Okay. Justice in civil court is about hardships, correct?
It's about justice.
Yes.
Wait, can you repeat that question?
Like I said, justice in civil court is determined by your hardships, correct?
That would be legally incorrect. The objection, the court's gonna object, calls for an improper legal conclusion. Sustained. Next question.
I'll go back to your precautions in maintaining separate last names. What was your immediate employment after leaving your volunteer role at the house?
I continued as a teacher's assistant through the remainder of my graduate program at Florida State. Upon the this one, November 23 or something, that's when I started working with the gas station.
So you work at a gas station. What is the name of the parent company of where you work?
Sustained.
Are your employers aware of the lawsuit?
Objection. This was
Sir?
Sustained. This is in violation of the motion in limine. Next question.
Your Honor, these are my last few questions, like 3 questions, and I don't want to ask them without checking with you guys. Can I sidebar for the last time?
Ask your question.
Were you recently promoted?
Your Honor, I believe this was also covered by the NDA.
All right. With that, I'll see the parties at sidebar. All right, the objection is withdrawn. I'll let you re-ask the question. I believe the question was, were you recently promoted? You may answer the question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Were you promoted at a place called Inland or Sunstopped, like Southwest Georgia Oil?
Yes.
Your work there started after the lawsuit began, correct?
Yes.
You started at the bottom while the case was pending, and you've just been successful ever since, correct?
I tried really hard at work.
You were recently married, correct?
3 years ago.
Next question. I'll allow it.
With the precautions you took, would it be safe to assume, or would you agree that you're thriving because none of this happened?
Can you repeat the question?
Is your position that you answered that you are promoted, you are successful, you've been thriving. Could it be safe to assume that you're thriving because none of these allegations actually happened?
That is not the case. Those allegations happened, and I thrive because I care about the work that I do, and I've been trying really hard at that work because I want to make. I understand that there's a potential career path, even though it's not traditional. I'm very happy to be working with that company. I'm happy to be working there. I have been very reserved with my going-ons of this courtroom and the case during my time working there, and it's an uncomfortable thing to bring up, not because I think they're going to negatively impact me as a result, but I'd rather it just not be a thing.
Your time has expired.
I'm gonna say
Redirect.
We'll be brief. A couple of points I want to go through. You offered to call Mr. Basabe an Uber after driving him the first time, correct?
That's how it is.
Okay. And do you recall what he said about Ubers?
He used the words poor or peasant whenever he was referring to that.
The hotel that you drove him to, could you describe for the jury, standing in the doorway, what you could see?
There was a bathroom on the left-hand side. The wall peeped out a little bit. Then there was a bed, the mini fridge, and it was a very basic hotel room. I believe it was on the 5th, 6th, 7th floor. I don't remember entirely. Again, I stood at the door to make sure. Yeah.
Okay. And not to belabor it too much, but that initial night that y'all went out, did you see Mr. Basabe also doing shots?
Yes, I believe so.
Now, you were a college student at the time, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
College students, or do you spend time in fancy hotels, even if they're columns or knockoffs?
No, no, I don't. No.
You have been a part of this lawsuit, but that text stands in perpetuity, doesn't it? I'm sorry, not the tweet is what I'm referring to. That was Exhibit 10.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask him to do a demonstrative, if you would, please, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down.
Would you please bring your phone and come with me, sir? Now, will you tell the jury, do you have all of the text between you and Mr. Basabe?
I do not.
But you do have the ones that are on concern on December 13th.
Yeah.
All right, now, can y'all see that?
Maybe I need to.
Oh, that's worse. Tell me when it's good. No.
Just let it sit for a second. It's an autofocus.
Thank you.
Then if it doesn't work, then mess with it. It's got a little time lag on it. Yeah, if it's not changing, then you'll have to.
Oh, it just went for just a second. We could kind of see it. What if we screenshot that and then try to pull it up on photos? Let's see if that works. Ladies and gentlemen, are this sound a little better?
No, no.
What we may need to do.
All right, yeah, that, yes. There.
All right. Now tell the jury, if you would, please, these first two texts with the name Fabian Basabe and Jacob from Township. How did those occur? Okay. And what is that was the date, December 13th.
Yes.
Right now, y'all had also met up, gone out December 14th, and this is the 15th, correct?
This is not a big.
All right, at 3:44 a.m. All right. And is that you texting him?
Yes, you'll never guess what happened.
All right. And when did he respond?
In the morning at 11:47 a.m.
Okay. And this is all on December 15th, correct?
This is all on December.
All right. And then you explained about hydroplaning, and then this is the location sent, correct?
Yeah, and you can see the timestamp. Since it's this screenshot, we can't. But the timestamp is 12:30.
Can the
December 15th.
here, if I, yeah. All right. Can the ladies and gentlemen of the jury see the date 12/15/22? Okay. Now, what you were shown.
Let's have the witness retake the stand?
What you were shown in what I believe is Defense Exhibit 3 stopped at hydroplane, correct? All right, and then he presented to Exhibit 2.
Yes, this is where I got confused.
Right. That's a different location on a different date, isn't it, sir?
Yes.
All right, you may step down.
Your Honor, I don't ask questions again until my case.
No, sir, that was redirect examination.